In this session, we're going to explore hatching, or what you need to apply as a hatch pattern or gradient or a solid color to a object that differentiates it to make it more understandable in a AutoCAD drawing. Usually a hatch pattern is applied to represent walls in plain view. It also can represent a concrete fill footing, and so it can be quite useful to identify or distinguish certain areas from other areas. Okay, so in order for us to utilize that command, we actually locate it under the Home tab and the Draw panel, and it is located here as the symbol. So we're going to, it has a split symbol, so it has hatch, gradient, and boundary. We are just going to look at hatch for now. Immediately as you click on hatch, a ribbon comes up at the top here, and at the second panel is pattern. There is a solid line, etc. Usually these two are used to represent walls in a plan, sorry. And there's a drop down menu, and there you have a little scroll to scroll through all the different what can I say, patterns. Okay, so there is for elevations, for bricks, there's concrete, there is to represent a brick wall in a plan, solid color. You can, it actually provides, I would say, texture to the drawing. Okay, so that's to do with the pattern, and it gets repeated up here. So there's solid, and it immediately jumps to a solid color. There's gradient, where it jumps to the I'll call them two-toned colors, and you can actually change the coloring over here. So you can select with the drop-down menu and choose a different color, and that can be pink and yellow, for instance, and so it changes. So yeah, we just keep it blue there, and of course I am, it's already trying to select it over there as I'm running over it. So let's just go back into there, and let's go back to gradient and pattern. Okay, so those are all the patterns there. What you will be using mostly is the scale. Hatch pattern scale expands, contracts a predefined or custom hatch pattern. Here's the angle. I'll show you that in a moment. So if I'm wanting to change this to a to represent a brick veneer, I can select my pattern. I can change my scale here by saying 20, for instance, to make it a little bit larger so I can see it. And now it is asking me to pick a point. So as I hover over and select in between the two outer lines and click in there, I now have what I can see is represented by quite a dense brick wall. So I find that that spacing is maybe just a little bit too close, so I can actually increase that scale to make it even wider apart. So let's say 50 and enter, and that just makes the pattern a bit more predominant. Okay, ultimately I wouldn't want to really change the angle that is part of the pattern, but if you need to change that angle, you have the option to do so. So there we go, by just pressing down the left on your mouse, the left key on your, the left, just yeah, push down on the left hand side of your mouse and drag that in or out, and you can get your angle there. You can also go quite light or dark. That actually works best for solid colors or gradient colors. So let's go to gradients. So it changes that now, and I can actually then change the intensity of that color. Okay, so by pulling it out, I can also angle that color by changing the colors to go in opposite directions. So you can have quite a bit of fun with that. And then there's solid color, which is then a dead solid color, and I can choose a specific color that I want it in, and it will be aligned to that color. Okay, so it only works what you see in your screen. So if I had to just zoom in and pick that, it says it's undisclosed boundary, and so you just got to be aware of that. So I just want to remove that, so select the boundary and enter. So now it's actually there, enter, and let's just erase that, and there. Okay, so we're back to square one. So if I was to hatch now, and I'm wanting to select there, so select the outer wall to represent a brick, and I'm wanting to choose the pattern by 50, and I am selecting now the pick point. It's so it does do it. It must be when we have no gaps, then it will say. So if I had to, let's just go back. If, for instance, this, if I exploded this line, this polyline, and I explode and enter, and I remove this line, for instance, erase, you can actually see now that if I want to try and hatch in there and pick my points, a closed boundary cannot be determined, so because there is a gap in the boundary. Okay, so, and it's telling me where, which is quite handy. Perfect. So for your walls, you are to hatch the walls by choosing hatch there and being able to keep it at 20, and I'm just going to place it in there and press enter, because it won't allow me here because my lines are open. So if I just close that from there to there, alright, and I choose hatch again and press enter, sorry, and select it there, it's still asking me, saying that it's not closed. It means that there's a gap somewhere, so that won't allow me. Alright, so just make sure that everything is sealed, or the boundaries are all connected, and then you can be able to work with putting in the hatch pattern to represent the bricks. Alright.